Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before you are tantalized in your pleasure centers for tonight's broadcast of the Bald and Bonkers Show, we must inform you that sadly, due to the powers that be that constantly spy on you 24/7, 7 days a week, your time, we are unable to provide the usual plethora of music and visual stimuli to ease your short attention spans. My name is Zeldon from the planet, and we hope you enjoy this broadcast. Wait a minute.
Hey, what's this doing?
Billy Ray?
What?
What do you have there? Okay.
Thing?
Put that damn thing down, Billy Ray.
What's
Hey, Billy.
Hey, John, what's this?
I thought we were going to stop bringing dumbass rednecks up here. Crap, is this thing still on? Okay. Enjoy the show!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Bald and Bonkers Show. I'm honestly looking forward to this one because the last time we had our guest on, things got weird.
Oh, yeah.
Especially right after. Today we have Craig Campobasso here to introduce his new book, the UFO Hotspot Compendium. All the places to visit before you die or are abducted. Well, honestly, if you've been paying attention to us, it's too late on that last part, but a road trip is always nice.
I say there should be always a copy in every UFO abduction, you know.
So, Greg, it's been a while. How are you, man?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Oh, right. Plenty of weird stuff been going on lately.
Yeah.
So some of our friends up there seem to be interested in wanting to talk to you. So we don't know how this show is going to go.
It's going to be an interesting show.
We love it.
It's going to be interesting because I think they've got your eye on you, and I think they want to talk to you. And one in particular is very interested in you, but we'll get into that later on. So I'll hand you over to Twitter if you go back.
All right. So jumping in, UFO Hotspot Compendium. Notice it's kind of like a nice little road trip map, but what was the inspiration for putting together this book?
Well, the inspiration was when the publisher approached me about doing it. I thought it was such a great idea. And originally what it was is we decided it would be a bucket list of places to go that people who are interested in UFOs could go to. So what that compiles is some of the most frequented spots, hotspots, where you are most likely to see a UFO. Some hotspots where extraterrestrials have been seen as well as their craft. And then other hotspots, which are, shall we say, historical, like the Betty and Barney Hill story, the George Van Tassel story, lots of those kind of things. So really what happened was we had the head of MUFON send out to all the MUFON state directors to nominate their favorite hotspots. And so they all did. I got all the information, compiled it, and then put it in an order in the book. And we've got several of the larger stories where I could go into a real in-depth detail. Like, for instance, even in the Giant Rock Integratron story, the historian of Giant Rock and the sisters that own the Integratron, they were like, we didn't even know some of this information, right? So I did a really deep dive, and then in other instances, in other cases, I went right with the MUFON directors who handled those cases or reopened those cases and had a lot more findings about what actually happened. So you get all of those goodies, and then if you're a real UFO enthusiast and you want to be a real UFO tourist, I give you the coordinates to where Lonnie Zamora actually saw the two little alien beings outside their craft in New Mexico. I give you the coordinates to where Travis Walton was abducted, to where Valiant Thor's Victor 1 craft is stationed at Lake Mead, right? So you're going to get a lot of these different coordinates to these different various places, including in Canada, the Falcon Lake incident. That's a real trek into the wilderness. So, and the other real trek into the wilderness is the Allagash, right? Which is you have to take a little small plane into it. And then you have to get on a boat and you have to go out to the island that you're going to camp on. So you are really in the middle of nowhere, right? And so that was the inspiration. And then at the very end of the book, I'll give a list of things that you can do while you're visiting that site, right? Also, I have a whole section, like all of us who love this stuff, all the alien and UFO specialty stores online and in person when you're visiting some of these sites, which is really cool. I even found a guy who has like about the size of a desk. He has a UFO that you can rent for parties and it lights up and it moves around. It's the coolest thing ever, right? So there's these little fun things. And then I end with UFO conventions and festivals, where to report UFOs, abduction and experiencer support groups, and where to find the most current UFO info, pictures, and reports.
Can I ask you, Craig, which story in the UFO hotspot was your favourite? What's your favourite from all of them?
Well, I have a particular affinity for Giant Rock and the Integratron, but I also really love the Bradshaw Ranch for many reasons. It's frightening, it's exciting, it's terrifying, it's the unknown, anything UFO, alien, otherworldly, paranormal happens at the Bradshaw Ranch. I was talking to a psychic last night who is a MUFON state director back in the Midwest. And I was telling her about the Bradshaw Ranch, and she said, "Oh my God, I see what it is. It's a double vortex. It has one vortex going clockwise and one going counterclockwise."
Really?
So it's bringing in all these things from all kinds of different places. So, but like I say, my favorite, it's amazing. We'll talk about that if you guys want to. But Giant Rock and the Integratron are my favorite because it is the birthplace of ufology and George Van Tassel and all of that. So he, the story in a nutshell, he knew the man who ran Giant Rock Airport. This old guy took dynamite, blew out underneath the rock, dug it all out, made it his home underneath the rock. And he graded a big thing of land for small airplanes to come in and land and the whole thing. Anyway, once he passed away, George had met him several times. He decided to buy the airport. He wanted to start living a more metaphysical life and communing with nature. So he moved his wife and daughters there. And he pretty much slept outside on a cot because, you know, it's the summertime. Right. And anyway, I knew two people who were with him from the beginning days when he lived under the rock, who were both with him when he first began channeling extraterrestrials in 52. Yes. And one of them is still alive. And so I used her and her stories throughout the years and re-interviewing her for this book about her being there even the first time he channeled Ashtar. He was the very first person on Earth to channel Ashtar. And anyway, then about a year later, he's sleeping outside in his on his cot. And he said, I woke up and he said the dogs weren't barking. It was silent. Nobody else was waking up. But I saw a man approaching. And so I got up to greet him. He said it wasn't odd that people would drive in the middle of the night or fly in. And he said, and the man was 5'6", had short blonde hair, looked like a normal human being, except he was dressed in a spacesuit. And when he saw over his shoulder that his ship was in the distance, he introduced himself as Salganda and wanted to know if George wanted a tour of his ship. So he gave George a tour. George worked for Howard Hughes. He worked for Douglas Aircraft. So anyway, he was very excited to learn how these things work. And Salganda gives him the blueprints on how to build the Integratron, which is a rejuvenation machine. It's how they all stay young and youthful, and that prolongs their life. Salganda looked 25, although he was over 700 years old. Wow. So, in a nutshell, George had to raise money to build the Integratron, which would be 3 to 5 minutes away where Salganda told him to build it, because there was a big cache of quartz crystal in that area way below. And by the way, Giant Rock next to it there is a crystal mound that is all quartz crystal.
Yes.
So there's lots of crystal there in the desert there. So Howard Hughes gave him 20 grand to get it started. And he thought, well, why don't I start having UFO conventions? And he would tell his story about Salganda and invite other contactees. And in decades of doing this, there got to a point where there was over 10,000 people out in the desert. So what are you getting there, Chris?
That's so weird that I can hear a weird tingling sound.
I've been hearing that since Craig started talking.
You can hear a what sound?
It's like tones, right? It's like the CE5 tones, but it's totally different. It's like something. It's like, oh, how can I explain this? It's like tinnitus or whatever it's called, right? But it's like it's in both ears at the exact same time, and it's so weird.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. Even a lot of people who read my books, they tell me that when they're reading them, it becomes extra ultra dimensional. They could see the words lifting off the page, and that they're feeling that they're getting an interdimensional experience about being in these other worlds and realms and things of that nature. So hearing the tones is you guys are hearing them because you've got headphones on, right?
It's really kind of hard to explain for the listeners. I don't know if any of the listeners have got headphones on, but you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a wee bell. It sounds like a little bell, but it's like it's going really, really fast. It's like,
wow.
Aye, that's that. Facebook user, whatever your name is, please put below what your name is. Electric cricket sound. Exactly.
So anyway, so that's how the Integratron got built. And by the time, throughout all the years when it was about 95% done, Salganda told him that the people of the earth weren't ready for it and to not turn it on. And then George did pass away. And then somebody else bought it. And then now, thank God, the three sisters, the Carl sisters, bought it many, many years ago. They had struggles to maintain it, and now everything is great. They've refurbished it. The grounds are gorgeous. They even hold concerts there. Moby even did a concert there.
Wow.
Lots of, I mean, so they give sound baths there. So in the end of the chapter, if anyone wants to go to Giant Rock, I suggest you hire the historian whose name and information is in the book. Her name's Barbara Harris. And she'll take you out, with chairs and all of that to go night vision looking for UFOs and learn about that. And you have to go to the Integratron website to sign up for a sound bath. Otherwise, you can't get on the property unless you're doing a sound bath. You can learn about it while you're there as well. They even have a gorgeous gift shop that's online and also there in person. And the sound bath is the most amazing thing because you're upstairs in the second story and it's a sound chamber. So you feel like you're levitating, and it does feel like your cells are totally being rejuvenated. So it's one of my favorite places to go. And they have a CD of the sound bath, which I bought because now I listen to it every day when I meditate and get that same experience.
I think I'm maybe going to buy it and try it, because that tone that I'm listening to right now seems really chilling me out. It's really, I had this kind of migraine before I come on, and it's totally gone. It's like that tone that I can hear playing. Can I question for you? What kind of crystals would you say, and for the audience there, what's the best crystal to use if you want to try and contact the extraterrestrials, to use crystals wise?
Well, Moldavite is like a meteor. It's like a really dark green type of thing. But I would say really high vibratory crystals. I'm going to tell you one little quick story. There was a man I used to buy all my crystals from. He would go to Peru and bring them back. And he had a quartz that was this tall. It went up like this, and then it came to a point, and he called it Baby. And he kept it hidden, and he said, I'm supposed to show you Baby. And inside Baby, in the very back, is a perfect pyramid. Whoop, there we go. Like long, that is black onyx, right? And from that pyramid are about 44 rings coming out all the way in. So when you look deep inside it, it's like you were being thrust into this whole other reality. And at a certain point, he said, oh God, I really don't want to do this. He said, but Baby wants to go home with you for a while. And I said, I will take Baby home. Right. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I put Baby in my bedroom, but the energy was so high I couldn't sleep. So I went and I put it in my kitchen on the kitchen table, right? And then within a few nights, I woke up in my astral body, got out of my astral body, walked over to the crystal, put my hands on the crystal, and it started vibrating. And I kept saying, come out, come out, come out. And all this information that was in that crystal went into my astral body, and I went back into my body, and my body rang with chills for 15 minutes, like the most intense chills you can ever think of. So all of that information went into me, and that's why I was supposed to have Baby. I wanted to keep Baby so bad, but Baby was so expensive.
How much was it? We could maybe chip in all together.
It was like 10 grand or something. But He
There you go,
sold
Dakota.
it.
God.
Of course, he sold it at a certain point. But anyway,
Oh,
I would say that these,
Wow.
I love chrysocolla,
mhm.
right? This beautiful, beautiful, very healing.
That's
It's
beautiful.
like, no, it's not chrysocolla, it's fluorite.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorites. But if you really want to go into higher dimensional things, I would say definitely to use very clear amethyst and very clear rose quartz,
Yeah.
because those are two of the highest
Mhm.
vibratory colors, and the clearer they are, the more you're able to help to make a connection. I myself, if you guys ever came here to my house, is filled with crystals. I love crystals so much, and it's what keeps the high vibratory thing going for me, for writing, for meditating. I have amazing crystals that are called, there's even one called a singing crystal, and it's just a strange looking quartz rod, but it has all these bumps all on the side of it, and you rub it when you're meditating, and you start to feel very relaxed. I never heard a song come from it, but because I do call it a singing crystal. And then if you get to really know crystals, if you look at other quartz crystals, if you hold them to the light where you can see impressions, if you see little tiny pyramids on it, those are recording crystals, and those hold information from wherever they've been. And I have several of those as well. Yeah. So, yeah, crystals are amazing.
I do feel a lot of energy around about you, Craig. I just don't know what it is. I feel somebody. I don't know if you noticed Ted Dakota, and I don't know if any of the kind of mediums in the chat notice, but I think it's to your left. It's at this side where the pictures are, not this side where the black poster is. It's more this side. I don't know what it is, but I can see something moving about. Can you sense something? Is there something there?
It's probably a very tall Pleiadian.
Yes.
Yeah.
with very long blonde hair.
I can just see the outline. That's all I can see.
Yeah.
I can just see his outline, and it's this weird noise. It's weird because it's like everything's getting really cold. It's so weird. It's like, I mean, before I come on here, my room was like roasting, and I mean roasting, and it's a weird kind of coldness because my hairs are standing up in my arms.
My energy, since we've been talking about it, I feel my energy is even elevating, right? Because your head starts to get a little light and a little fuzzy, and it feels really, really good. Yeah, Dakota, just don't hit your head on the microphone if it falls down.
Right.
It's just, this is so weird. It is just so weird, and I'm going to hand you over to Dakota while I sit and just listen to this strange sound that I can hear.
Well, maybe if you sit and listen, you would hear that there's somebody actually talking in that noise.
I know there is.
I was like trying to figure out what they're saying, but once again, another squirrel moment. But all right, you got one. Damn aliens always throw me off. But when it comes to going to all these different sites, we've noticed that a lot of the time when it comes to UFO reports, that there's always seemed to be some sort of spike right around the month of July. Is there a more optimal time to go to these sites to kind of better your odds, since technically this is one hell of a gamble?
No, I've never noticed that, but some of the sites like East Ranch in Washington State, you're almost guaranteed to see something in the sky there, because Mount Adams is literally a couple of miles, and you can see it right from the Skywatch area. And they're said to be a benevolent Pleiadian base with other extraterrestrials there. Craft are seen going in and out of the mountain all the time. There are mysterious lights at night on the mountain. When I was there, I noticed all these, it's like these flashes of light, and they're sporadic. And, you know, you think they're hikers with a flashlight, but if they were hiking with a flashlight, that light would stay on, right? And that kind of thing. But they're all over the place. And the ranch hands and the friends I went with had been there many times before and said that it's different every time. It's like the Marfa lights. It's like the lights on Skinwalker Ranch. They have on one of their big plateaus at the top. They get all those anomalous lights there. So we're not really quite sure what creates these lights.
Do you think it's maybe the energies of the beings, or do you think it's maybe the energy that they use?
I don't know if it's part of crystals interacting with the atmosphere that are in the ground that maybe create a flash of light. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I mean, it's, you know, when I was investigating the Marfa lights, everyone keeps thinking it was car lights way back where this mountain is, but they've dispelled all of those stories, and it's just fascinating to try and figure out what this is. I mean, I would really love to know what those lights are. But when I was there at Isetti Ranch, they do have one pair of night vision binoculars there for all the people in the Skywatch area. And when they find one, they have a laser pointer. They'll point at it. Sometimes you can see it with the naked eye. Sometimes you'll need the night vision. But everyone gets their turn with the binoculars, and you'll see it, and they'll have it move around, and they'll tell it to power up, and it does, and it gets really bright like a star, and everyone on the field is screaming with excitement and all of that. And again, you have to make an appointment to go to Isetti Ranch on their website. You can't just show up, right? So make sure everyone reads at the end of these chapters what you have to do to go to these places, right? So and they have Bigfoot there too. They have several Bigfoot in the area.
See, I think Bigfoot's got something to do with extraterrestrial friends. I think they've got something. There's something that I'm not saying they're the same, and I'm not saying that they are extraterrestrials, but I think they maybe share the same space as some of these interdimensional ones.
They could, and this will be a good sort of transition into the Bradshaw Ranch, because so the Bradshaw Ranch is out in the Verde Valley, which is just outside of Sedona. So Bob Bradshaw, who was a cowboy, bought 140 some acres, built his ranch home, and they gave tours to people throughout the years. And then he started creating like a little mini Universal Studios once they started filming movies there and things. And they would have rodeo shows, stage coach shows, things like that. And one of my longtime friends worked there back in its heyday. So I've been hearing these stories for a very long time. And so, and the first one she told me about was about a albino Sasquatch that visited the property frequently, and because they started finding Bigfoot footprints. And then Linda, Bob's wife, decided, well, I'm going to put some food out by the horses and the horse corrals. She put fruits and vegetables. And the next morning she went out, she found the footprints, and all the food was gone. And she was gifted with sticks and stones, right? So So she came to call her Big Girl, and she noticed on her pregnant mare's belly that there were always these white hairs, and she didn't know where they came from. And then the leading ET ufologist there in Sedona, who knows all the stuff that goes on, he called her and said, "Look, the other ranches, aliens are taking their mare's fetuses. So be very careful with your mare." So she believed that Big Girl was protecting her mare, and her mare did have her baby, etc., and all of that was fine. But as all of this went on, and she brought in this guy, Tom Dongo, that Tom researched on the ranch for about 4 years, either about once a week, I think he said. They would go on and they would research all the things that were happening, especially if something big happened. And Linda's son, who was in his 20s, when they would photograph something or use the VHS camera, once they caught Big Girl in this other reality with a flying saucer above her.
Wow.
Yes.
Whoa.
Another time they saw a walking dinosaur, right? So the dimensions there seem to open up through these other viewing types of things, right? Another time they saw telephone poles where there are no telephone poles, right? So the son caught other kind of creatures, which were quite interesting as well, because these dimensions are, like I said, very, and it makes sense to what the psychic said to me last night, that it's a negative positive wheel vortex, counterclockwise and clockwise. And that makes sense to why all of these things were happening there, because they themselves saw a ship land in broad daylight right in front of the ranch. They, in the middle of the night, were woken up to find lots of little grays running around their property.
That was interesting.
Looking in the windows, that would be quite terrifying, right? Another night, they heard their dogs barking, and they went outside, and they were looking up at something that wasn't there, and they heard this horrendous hissing, like you wouldn't believe. And so they were frightened, got back in the house. The next morning went out, and what they found were reptilian footprints.
Oh dear.
Oh, lovely.
Right.
So you see, so there's many things that went on here at this ranch of what I put in the book, including the missing time of the son, who was put under regression a few times. So those are quite interesting as well. And then a terrifying alien story just for Halloween month is the Pascagoula incident with Calvin Parker and Charles Hickson. And for those that don't know, Calvin was young in early 20s. Charles was older. They were fishing off a pier. Calvin had just moved to town, just started. Charles got him a job where he worked in the shipyard. So they decided they were going to go fishing one night. They saw these lights, and then this light came in, and then all of a sudden they're paralyzed, and they're just looking at these three really weird robots coming at them. They inject something into their arm. They pull them into the ship. They're both put in a different room. Calvin's in one room. He's not yet strapped to a table. And Calvin describes it that she was the most evil alien being he had ever seen in his entire life. And that he wanted to kill her because the things she was doing to him, he won't even repeat because there's such shame and everything attached to it. He won't even describe what she looks like because he doesn't want to bring that into the world, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is he himself, when they were both when they both sort of came to, and they went immediately to the police and all of that, and went through all the questioning and that, and they actually tape recorded them when they were alone in the room, and the sheriff actually believed them because they were so terrified even when they were alone during that time. But the coolest thing that I was able to obtain from Calvin's publisher is using Bud Hopkins' regression with Calvin, going back to that time and living it moment by moment.
Yeah. See how you said about the robots that tame them and stuff like that. What would you say was the species that actually took? Because obviously someone must have built them.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what species it is. Nobody knows because he's never described what she looked like. Right? The robots, you can't tell who they are because they only had beads for eyes. They weren't a living creature, it seemed. And they had big conical noses, right? I mean, we have pictures of the robots in the book as well, and where all the sites were, exactly where you go to the actual site. You can even contact the person at the Chamber of Commerce. I spoke to her. And she was like, yes, please tell anyone in the book if they're coming to visit here to call me, and I'll be happy to explain anything further to them.
I find that fascinating with the robots because I know a lot of the extraterrestrials out there, they're kind of like strange. They don't like artificial intelligence. They don't. They always put across, don't go near artificial intelligence. Do not go near artificial intelligence. It will destroy your world. We've had wars with artificial intelligence. Do not go there. So it makes you wonder, is this maybe maybe they weren't extraterrestrial, maybe they were extraterrestrial in a sense, but maybe they were robotic from somewhere.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I psychically see her, I see her as with a sort of strange, scaly, like thick scaly, or not like fish scales, but a weird kind of skin, and she's really, really like midnight black, right? And that she just has an evil kind of presence. That's what I attune when I tune into it. Believe me, I tried with Calvin and the publisher to get him to really finally talk about it, but Calvin just won't. And
it's quite interesting because before the show started, before you come in, Craig had a message given to me, and it was the Orion Syndicate. And I said to Dakota, and then when you said that again, it came into my head again, saying it's the Orion Syndicate. And Dakota knows who these are. I personally don't. I don't know who, but
yes. Yes, and what's interesting that the readers will find out when they get to that chapter is reading the Bud Hopkins thing. She had been visiting him throughout his life, right? So he had an immense hatred for her.
Yeah. I suppose people out there, there's going to be bad aliens. And there's going to be extremely good aliens. I mean, I think there's a lot more good extraterrestrials out there.
Way more that are good, yes. And then there's these evil, strange offshoots and things like that. Or if there's especially in Orion, there's a conglomeration of all kind of a lot of species that sort of banded together that are dark.
Yes.
And
the Star Wars was based on like psychic messages about stuff that's gone on in Orion.
That's right. Yes, exactly. exactly.
Yeah, because that's what before the show started, I kept getting the Orion Syndicate, the Orion Syndicate, the Orion, and I don't know
Yeah,
why I
you're
got
talking
that.
about Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's weird because I think they're maybe watching us as we speak right now. I think they're watching us as we speak right now. Dakota, would you like to tune in?
So, kind of going into how it seems that there's some people that seem to can't go a day without having some sort of experience with ETs. Could they essentially be walking vortexes for these things to be attracted to?
Well, I would say in the positive benevolent sense, when a starseed, for instance, wakes up, right? And I'm going to give you my own experience when I was 26 and I was woken up by 3 universal master teachers, right? That process is that they stay with you until they get you to the right consciousness that you came here to be in, and then it is up to you to continue that consciousness, right? So they were with me for quite a long time, and then when you no longer require the teacher, they step back, they still watch over you, and if you need their assistance, you can call on them, or you might get a whole new set of teachers that come in. It depends on what kind of work that you're doing that requires things, if you're just here as a starseed to raise your consciousness, and it's only going to be about spiritual things and overcoming your emotions, mastering your emotions so that your heart and mind become one, which is on the path to becoming fully conscious beings, like all the extraterrestrials that are positive and benevolent, right? It's all the ones like everybody here, everybody is dualistic. And that means that if they want to just use the ego and the mind to get what they want in service to self, that's where all of that comes in. But even over time, even they say some of the most evilest beings that have been in the universe eventually revert, and they start working towards their path, and they become extremely spiritual over time because they really want to overcome it. We know a lot of reptilians have done that. We know that a lot of human bad races as well have done that. I think our world, there's many people that are going towards that, and some are unconscious and some are conscious about it, right? So it all depends. And then there's some people that attract negative aliens as well, that they're being bombarded with all kinds of things. And even like new star seeds who recognize they're a star seed, they will have a period of time where they'll get bombarded by reptilians in their dreams. They will try and knock them off their course so that they don't strive to become spiritual, because they want to keep Earth planet dumbed down, right? So I was once talking to a family that had 2 children. At the time were 13 and 15. Mother was extremely spiritual, father halfway there. Both boys were master teachers from somewhere else. That's all I gotta say. They were extremely brilliant and bright, and they could talk about everything. They asked me a million questions about the universe, ETs, everything, things that only older adults would ask, right? And they were having, as a family, except for the mother, they were all having reptilians come to them and chasing them in dreams, and they were terrified trying to get away. And, once I explained, it was funny that they were actually targeting the men in the family, right?
Yeah.
So once I explain, look, they're just trying to knock you off your game. Stay spiritual, stay on your path. Just constantly put your protection around you every single day. And definitely do, even if you can do a 2-minute meditation every day just to shield yourself and all of that, just do that. Because I had all of that same stuff in the beginning. And then what you have to do is you just keep raising your vibration until it all goes away, because they can no longer get in and match that vibration. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that when this all started off for me, I had good experiences, but I did have weird, funky dreams where these creatures wanted me.
Yes.
And then I started to like open up more and let it more in, and talk to Dakota. He helped me, and a lot of other people like Lisa Fry, she helped me too. And I don't have that anymore. I just have really nice. I still have freaky dreams and stuff like that, but I still have, when I do my thing, my meditation and that, and I get out my body and stuff, I always have really good experiences now.
Yes.
I think it's as if they can't near me. I don't know what it is. It's weird. It's like the evil ones kind of near me for some weird reason.
Well, they know that they couldn't affect you, so they just backed off, right? Once you show them that, right, and you don't go at them from the standpoint of yelling at them and telling them to go away. That's just going to make them come more. You just have to do it with grace and dignity, and you can just say, "Go in peace. Go with God. Go with Archangel Michael. Go with whatever you want to say." And that will definitely do the trick.
I will say this about some of the extraterrestrials that I've met. Some of them are extremely nice. Some of them are extremely funny too.
Yes,
who they are. I mean, some of them they show you stuff. But it's weird because when you wake up, you can remember where you've been, but you can't remember what they've told you.
Yes.
And it's really annoying.
Yes, but it's in you. It is definitely in you. And over time, that will come through your consciousness as intuition, by the way.
Yep, I've noticed that not too long ago, there was, I've been practicing, like, basically, I've been talking with several people, and they all were coming to the same conclusion that obviously, because I've had hybrid kids, as I showed you last time you came on, that apparently there's a really deep personal connection. Obviously, they know me from somewhere. As it turns out, I was actually able to get my Pleiadian name when I had before going into the Starseed program, and I talked to this woman, Elena Denon. She's been an amazing help throughout all this. I said, "Hey, do you know this name?" And I gave her a description. It was a tall Pleiadian, wore the gray spacesuit, looked a lot like some of the depictions of Val Thor, as an example.
Right.
Before he's in suit and tie. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know him. He worked with her contact, Thorhan Iridian, as for rescue missions for abducted children." The week after the last time we had Elena on, we had this young lady come on who I've been trying to help. She told us that she believes she had an abduction that got masked as a false flag memory. The night I got the name, they came to visit me, showed me exactly what she had described to us. And towards the end, he goes, "So why my mind says, you're getting ready to deploy. You don't need to remember this right now, but remember the moose." Part of the false flag memory that this young lady told us about is that she just saw this moose start bucking around, which usually for those who don't realize, they're huge. They don't necessarily need to do that.
Right.
I was able to actually find a paper trail. I was like, that spooked me so much, I damn near Flood Flintstone the car I was in. So I was like, and I'm 26, and the second you say that, I was like, what the?
Wow.
I've no learned my name yet. I've no learned my name because I don't think I'm ready to learn my name yet. To be honest with you, that's what I get for them. That's what I get for them. And I know the color of the suit though, black with kind of silver, and it always sticks with me. It always sticks with me. This black suit. Everybody, I can remember this place. And everybody is wearing black suits with like wee silver bits. But I notice a lot of the different ones have all got different coloured suits, which I find interesting. Which I find really interesting. I think Dakota, you figured out wearing my black suit. What extraterrestrial was that? Was it Palladian?
It was, if I'm not mistaken, the way it was told to me, when you see all these different colors, spacesuits, and maybe you can validate this, is that that's sort of a color coding system for what species that being is. Say mine was, I'm calling it Pleiadian, as you have it in your extraterrestrial species almanac. Chris may be one of the negative ones that's on parole. That's a Starseed. That's a Starseed mission. The way it was put forward, that's what it sounded like.
It's not, honestly, I do have this kind of thing that I've done something. And I know this is going to sound bad, right? I've done something in a previous life. I was like a soldier. I was something really bad, right? But I jumped ship. I jumped sides to the good side. And I had the kind of, I don't know, how am I going to express this? I had the kind of mentality is like, oh dear, I've just blew that planet up. Oh well, that's a shame. That's the kind of mentality that I had. But it's weird. It's like, oh, I'm really sorry for all that now, obviously, but it's so weird. Why did they pick me? Is it because of that? Is it because he's my parole officer?
Well, look, I mean, here's the thing. In the big scheme of things, when we leave here and we go to the other side, we realize that we were in a play, just like the Shakespeare line, right? We have been in a play. We have been learning to groom our soul to become gods ourselves, right? And when we attain that and start moving up through the different dimensions, right, we will go through, next we will go into the ethereal level where a lot of the higher extraterrestrials are. And when we're done with that, we will move into the celestial realm. And then we will become creators of also the creation from a higher standpoint of creating worlds, creating life, creating all different kinds of things, right? So it's great that you did something, but it's also really terrific that they erase everybody's memories of everything that went on before, because otherwise your life would be inundated with all of the things that you've done in the past. And all you know is you're here working on yourself to help pull your future into the right place where you want to be, right? So, but again, the love that's in the universe, no matter what it is, there is no right and wrong, right? You are still loved no matter what, but you still have that karmic debt to pay.
Oh yeah.
No matter what it is, right? You think about somebody like Hitler, what's that karmic debt, right? Really, honestly. I mean, is that like 1 billion years of universal service? Or, I mean, I would love to kind of know how those kinds of things work. Fortunately, I don't, because we know we all have to work off our own karma in many different ways. The fastest way is incarnating into a body.
Yes.
Right? That's the fastest way. On the other side, you can just do universal service, but that takes longer, right? So coming and jumping in a body here and having to go through this dualistic stuff.
This is nothing.
It's very challenging, especially if you have a heavy karmic debt, which I know a few people who have one, and nothing ever goes right in their life.
Yeah.
But it's how they work themselves through it.
Yes.
Right?
And it's a
So,
skill. Life is skill. Life is skill.
Yes, it
And
is.
when we die, we graduate, we go back, and then we stand before the headmaster or whatever. And he says, right, you've done well, but there's these points and there's these points, but you have to go back and you have to fix these points. And I think
Yes.
you have to do that over and over again until, well, you can become a creator. Like you said, you can create anything you want.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So
speaking of creators, what are your thoughts on the chatter that Enki's back?
never heard that chatter. So I have no idea.
Oh, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
You tell us.
Yeah, have no idea about that.
Yeah, apparently Enki, for those who don't know their mythologies, is an Anunnaki being said to be responsible for the creation of human life.
Oh, he's
How it is.
Yeah.
I find it funny that as I go to talk about it, my signal starts interrupting.
I know. See, there you go. Okay, you're fine now.
Yeah, I was about to say, as someone pointed out in the chat, as I was talking about my life before this, apparently I started going out again. So I'm on to something.
Yeah.
But apparently, short version, he's back and Earth's getting ready for its next stage. So that could be why things seem so crazy now lately.
Well, we know it's about ready to shift over because the world is in turmoil. It'll get worse, and then when the chaos ends, everything always happens this way. It's huge chaos, and then it settles, and then we move forward.
Yeah, I think it would be good if the extraterrestrials came down right now to stop whatever's going to happen, which we know probably won't happen for a little. I think it will happen, but I don't think it'll happen for another 10 years. What's your opinion, Craig? When do you think they'll actually start coming down in force and start showing themselves a lot?
Well, they're actually living on the planet. A lot of them have jobs. I, in my life, have come across about 2 that I knew were not from here for sure. And they kind of smiled and looked at me when their eyes, got big and that kind of thing. And then an interesting thing, when my first book came out, I Am Tehran, in the Autobiography and Extraterrestrial Saga, a friend of mine was in Beverly Hills, was sitting in a coffee shop. And he said there was a woman, he said, Craig, she was as beautiful as those women that are in your book, and she was reading your book. And I leaned over to her and I said, how are you liking the book? And she kind of turned away from me as not to bother me. And he said, oh, well, my friend is the author of that book. And she actually got up and just left. Which was interesting.
Better get out of here.
Yeah, which was interesting.
Talking about the book, where can everybody buy the book from, Dakota? Where's all the locations? Because we've got
we have links in the description, and for those the platforms that don't necessarily get the descriptions, I'm going to start posting them in the chat right now.
Beautiful. Do you have the Autobiography of an ET / /other-books?
That I do.
Yeah, put that one in, because that's where you can get this and this at that link, Autobiography of an
I would show mine taped. It's in my basket in Amazon. I can't get it until November the 25th.
Right? I know that. So Autobiography of an ANET.com / /other-books, or you just go to autobiography of an ET.com. My book series set there. The Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga is there. I'm writing 2 prequel books to that right now. And then you can get all the other books there. If anybody are a stranger at the Pentagon fans or Valiant Thor fans, you can go to Stranger at the Pentagon. You can get all of Dr. Frank's out-of-print books, posters behind me, all kinds of wonderful things.
Yeah, I actually fancy one of the posters behind you. That looks awesome. Those posters there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's some real exciting news. I am making the documentary to the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac right now.
Ooh.
Yes, and we're a little over halfway through. It's a long, tedious process. It'll be out next year, and that's going to be exciting because we're bringing the extraterrestrials to life, and you will be seeing the people who actually have face-to-face contact with these extraterrestrials, interviewing several amazing hybrids as well as other investigators. We even have one guy who's been on their ships over 100 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and these are people that are not in other documentaries, right? So it's really quite, I wanted to make a documentary that wasn't like every other UFO documentary. So if you like outer space, it's going to look just like outer space.
I can't wait to use it. Oh, I need to watch that. I need to see that. I really do. Yeah, I think that's going to be absolutely awesome. And please, everybody, buy the book. Give it at Christmas.
Yes.
Christmas is coming up. You know, it's the perfect time of the year. In fact, buy all of his books. Buy the full collection, because then you'll you know.
I'm definitely going to get some Christmas gifts for myself from your books. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, anybody who buys them off my website, I autograph them to you and sign them. And also, if you're buying them for family members or friends, just after you purchase it through the PayPal link, you can make a note in the PayPal link, or you can email me through the website and say, oh, could you sign one book to John, to one, to Emily, whatever, you want, and then we'll get those off to you.
I'll maybe do that, actually. I'll maybe do that with you. I'll maybe get a signed book of maybe the UFO Hotspot and all of them.
Yes, there you go. You guys, if you haven't read the Autobiography of an Extraterrestrial Saga, you're going to love that. Those books, they're amazing.
Yeah,
I love those books, and they're all illustrated.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, I bought like an ebook the other day there, but it's no the same. I like sitting with like a book with paper.
It's totally different. That's right.
I'm the same way. Different. And then you can put it in your shelf, and then look, I've got that.
I totally agree. And by the way, the Extraterrestrial Species Almanac is now in Italian. And the Spanish version just hit Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I can't speak that. Nice. So I'm going to have to wait to the English first.
Yeah.
You hardly handle English.
We don't have one in Scottish yet.
I know.
That's it. You need to do one in Scottish. Aye, and the big ship come out of the hull.
Oh, Lord.
So I would like to thank you, Craig, for coming on the show. Dakota, would you like to say anything before we end the show?
I do want to say thank you for sending me the book, Craig. It's definitely interesting, and I need to plan a road trip, to be completely honest, just to see some of these spots.
Yes.
It seems like UFOs are coming out of the woodwork lately. I mean, hell, I got word of a possible UFO crash from law enforcement sources not too long ago. Of course, when I went to go check out the site, everything was caught on fire. So,
wow,
figured.
Usual. Yeah,
of course.
That's what we'll do. I'll come to America and we'll all go on a UFO hunt. And we'll go to Craig's sites and I'll film the spot when you get abducted by aliens.
See, I mean, come on, that's a great subtitle of the book.
Aye.
I didn't come up with it. The publisher did. All the places to visit before you die or are abducted.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. I would just like to thank you for myself and everybody in the chat. Craig, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
We'll need to get you back on again. We'll talk to you after the show, obviously. Everybody in the chat, remember it's our anniversary, isn't it, Dakota? It's been a year.
Yeah. Somehow we managed to survive each other for a year, and we expect to have one guest in particular, a special interview. But unfortunately, as soon as I indicated that we may have wanted to work on other projects together, conveniently he had to disappear, and that keeps happening every time I'm on a serious lead, and I'm getting frustrated. Come hang out with us tomorrow. Lots of fun stuff. We're going to be talking about a few things we have coming up in store, and maybe a weird Loch Ness claim that's hitting the news lately. So,
nice. The Loch.
There you go. You need a Scottish UFO book. I'm telling you, that's that. Right, everybody. Thank you for coming on, Craig.
Bye, everybody.
In the chat. Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.